What's up, everyone? Logan Stern here, and it's late right now. Kind of slept in late today, not gonna lie. It's the first day of winter break. Just slept in today. Got a lot of sleep last night just to recover from the semester. But I slept in, went to the gym, killed legs. One of my first times hitting legs in a couple of weeks. It's been a rough month of training. Just life in general. I'll talk about it in my semester reflection video, just like how the past month was. But did that, then I had a big cheat meal, had a frozen pizza, Ben and Jerry's. It's high calorie day, so that's why. But essentially, that's what I did today. I've been up late, have work in the morning. But I said, you know what? I don't care. I'm gonna film this video because I told myself I was gonna film it, so I'm gonna film this video. There's actually gonna be a lot of videos coming soon, but that's gonna be happening. So yeah. Anyways, though, today I'm gonna be talking. It's gonna be another video about bulking. Because right now I'm in a bulk right now. I'm in a lean bulk. I've been kind of saying it, but I've been in a bulk for about 4 months now. I've gained 15-ish pounds maybe, but I've gained a pretty decent amount of weight by now. I'm about halfway through my bulk right now, maybe a bit less than halfway done whenever me and my coach decide to start my contest prep for my first bodybuilding show. But essentially I'm about halfway done, right? And I've just noticed some stuff I'm gonna be talking about in this video. So today I'm gonna be talking about the pros and cons of bulk build, or being bulked up. It's basically bulking. What's good about it, what's bad about it, and if I recommend it. And just for some clear context, I'm gonna be assuming we're talking about lean bulking, right? So you're staying at a healthy body fat percentage, you're not getting too fat, you're eating primarily healthy. Obviously when you're bulking, more cheat meals is definitely okay, but your goal is to gain muscle, right? You're not going too fast, you're doing it properly. There's gonna be some fat gain, right? But you're ultimately gaining a lot of muscle and strength. That's essentially what bulking is. Bulking in the true context is where you're eating a calorie surplus with the goal of building muscle and strength and accepting a little bit of healthy fat gain along the way. That's what bulking is supposed to be. Anyways, though, let's talk about the pros and cons of it, and the ones I've noticed specifically these past 4 months, and just in general from bulking in the past. Okay, so let's get right into the positives. Now I'll talk about the cons. One thing I'm gonna note too is some of these pros and cons are actually gonna be, some of the pros are also gonna be cons, right? And a lot of the cons I'm gonna talk about I can negate these cons, or I'm trying to think of the word. Basically, minimize the effects of the cons. So let's get right into it. Okay, now that I'm hydrated, let's talk about the pros. Okay, so the first pro of being bulked up or bulking is you're gonna look bigger in clothing. So this is the most obvious one, I would say, because essentially when you're bulking, you're gonna be getting bigger, right? No matter if you're getting muscle or fat, you're physically gonna be getting bigger, gaining more mass. So with that being said, when you're in clothing, which is the vast majority of the time, you're gonna look a lot bigger. And this is a great benefit to bulking, right? Because essentially you look like, let's be honest, most of us lift weights because we want to look better, right? We want to look bigger and stronger. And the truth is, the majority of the time, especially during the winter, you're gonna have your shirt on. Unless you're one of these douchebags that walks around campus with their shirt off, which I've seen a few of these clowns, by the way. But anyways, you're gonna be wearing your clothing most of the time. So generally speaking, you're gonna look bigger most of the time when you're bulking because you're gonna be filling out your clothing more. And this is especially true if you store fat in good areas genetically. If you store a lot of fat in your upper torso, your arms and shoulders, which is what I tend to do, you're actually gonna look a lot bigger in clothing. So this is one of the biggest benefits to bulking, I would say, arguably, because majority of the time, like I said, you're wearing clothing. All right, so now we have a first benefit talked about. Now I'm gonna talk about the second benefit, which is gonna be improved performance and strength. So when you're bulking, you're gonna be in an energy surplus, right? You're eating more calories than you're burning. Ultimately, because you're in a positive calorie balance, you're gonna be gaining weight. But with these extra calories, you're gonna have all this extra energy, which gives you energy to perform better, train harder. And generally speaking, when you're bulking, you're gonna get stronger. If you're doing it right, you're training properly, also recovering properly, it's gonna be much easier to make strength progress. And there's some lifts that I've noticed doesn't really matter too much whether I'm in a calorie surplus or deficit as far as making progress goes, but there's some where being a calorie surplus is going to be a great benefit to, specifically pressing movements like overhead pressing and bench pressing, but especially bench pressing. Whenever someone tells me or asks me, what can I do to get my bench up? One of the biggest things I'm going to say is be in a calorie surplus, go on the bulk, gain some weight, because it's going to help you a lot. I noticed whenever I diet, I always lose a little bit of bench strength whenever I get lean. But when I'm bulking, it's the opposite. I always get stronger. And I've noticed when I've been in periods where even like I'm dirty bulking, which I don't recommend, I actually get a lot stronger on bench press. So being in a calorie surplus though is just gonna give you overall better energy for performance. You're gonna be able to train harder and make better strength gains. All right, so now that you're training harder, you're gonna need to recover better, right? Well, guess what? That's another benefit to bulking. You're gonna have increased recovery because you have a bigger amount of calories in your system. You're gonna have improved recovery. You're gonna be able to find yourself recovering harder from training sessions. You're probably gonna be able to handle a bit more volume, and you're gonna be able to train a little bit heavier more frequently. Another thing to notice about bulking is obviously sleep's important, but you don't need quite as much when you're bulking than when you're cutting. I remember on my last cut when I got shredded, I had to sleep at least 7 hours a night. I just felt like a zombie throughout the entire day. When I'm bulking, I don't need to do that. Sleep's important, right? But it's also genetic too. Some people just don't need as much as others. I don't think I need as much as like a lot of people do, but that's another great benefit to bulking. You're gonna have improved recovery. You're gonna find yourself recovering from these training sessions, and because you're having improved recovery, you're gonna make better progress, right? It just kind of makes more sense. You have more calories and nutrition in your system, so you're gonna recover better. But that's another great benefit to bulking. So with both these factors combined, this is the fourth pro. With a better training, performance, and recovery, you're gonna make better gains overall. So if you wanna make optimal muscle and strength gains, I 100% believe that the best way to do it is gonna be in a calorie surplus, based off my experience. I'm not saying you can't make gains when you're at maintenance or even when you're dieting if you're a beginner, you're just trying some new like training stimulus or whatever, but it's gonna be optimal when you're in a calorie surplus. I made my best strength gains when I was bulking. Best strength gains I ever made was second semester sophomore year in high school, and I was in a big calorie surplus there. Like I felt I was living the bulk life then. But essentially, you're gonna make better gains because you have more energy to train hard, and you're gonna be in a more anabolic state, breaking down more muscle fibers, making better nervous system adaptations, getting bigger and stronger. So being a calorie surplus is great for that. You're gonna have that increased recovery too. So I would say for optimal strength and muscle gains, bulking is the way to go. Get some more water. I'm gonna really try to minimize my editing on these videos. It's just a lot of work. Anyways though, yeah, so one caveat I want to kind of talk about this. I hear a lot of people saying that you don't need to bulk to make gains. You don't need to be in a calorie surplus to make gains. You can main gain. And I have some issues with this argument. So the guy who's probably the biggest proponent of main gaining is Greg Doucette. I actually like a lot of his videos. I agree with a lot of what he says. But my whole issue with the whole main gaining argument he makes is that his definition isn't always consistent, right? He basically, he'll look at like a bodybuilder that bulks, that's like shredded, bulks up from 5% body fat to 15%, and he's like, he main gained. I'm like, that's called a lean bulk. That's essentially what it is. And additionally, he says to gain muscle, you need to gain a little bit of weight. Again, that's technically a lean bulk because you're in a calorie surplus. You can't gain weight without a calorie surplus. So what it really means, when I look at his definition of main gain, it kind of means that a healthy body fat level year round, right? That's good for you, and you still gain muscle. And it can be in a range too, depending on how lean you are. That's kind of what lean bulking is. So honestly, it's kind of the same thing. But now that's out of the way. Let's just go on to the next benefit. Okay, so the next big benefit is you're gonna have more energy because you're in a calorie surplus. You're gonna have excess energy. Like I already said, you can use this energy to train harder, but you're likely gonna feel more energetic and just feel like more alive. And that's honestly a great benefit. But this next benefit I'm gonna talk about is gonna be probably one of the biggest ones on this, and is for a lot of people actually. It's gonna be, you're gonna be able to eat more food and enjoy more foods you probably wouldn't normally get to eat when you're dieting. Your goal is to gain weight, right? So you're gonna be in a calorie surplus, which means automatically you're gonna be able to have more food than when you're cutting. You're probably not gonna feel hungry all the time, unless like you just started and you just finished off a diet, but eventually that's gonna subside and you're gonna feel more full and you're gonna enjoy more variety in your diet. You're gonna be able to have more foods fit in your calories and macros they normally wouldn't. Additionally too, you're going to be able to fit more cheat meals in your diet because your goal is to gain weight. And even if you overeat one day or have too much, I know even though the goal is to not like gain too much fat, it's not going to be too harmful because you're going to still ultimately accomplish your main goal of the bulk, which is to be in calorie surplus to gain muscle and strength at a better rate. But essentially, that's a big benefit. A lot of people, it's probably one of their favorite things about bulking is they get to eat more food, they get to eat a lot more foods they'd like. And honestly, it's one I've noticed myself. I've kind of like talked about this a bit, but the past year, after I did my last cut, I basically kind of maintained for like 8 months, sorry. I maintained for, I gained a little bit of weight, but I kind of like maintained roughly the same body fat percentage. I had to be more strict with my eating then than I am now. Now I'm trying to gain weight. If like I go out to eat, I don't have to worry. I think yesterday I was going out with my uncle and dad. They just got back from hunting. We went to Five Guys. I was able to just eat it with no problem because it fit my calorie target and it was ultimately beneficial. That's just a great benefit about bulking. Going out to eat can even be beneficial at times. But that's like probably one of the biggest benefits I would say. I'd say it's probably up there with looking bigger in clothing, but I just figured I would go through this stuff in a different order, but whatever. Anyways though, with both all this combined, right? You're gonna, like I said, you're making better gains. You're eating all this food you like. You feel more energetic. The next ultimate benefit is you're just gonna have a better mood. You're gonna feel overall happier. I've noticed with the times when I felt happiest was when I was bulking, past 5 years. When I'm cutting, I'm not saying I feel depressed or anything, but when I'm cutting, I tend to just be really focused and zoned in on it. When I'm bulking though, I kind of feel like more laid back and chilled out a bit because I'm like, you know what, I'm making progress. And ultimately bulking's the majority of the time when it should be the majority of like your phases, dieting phases when you're trying to bodybuild, right? It should be, but ultimately I tend to feel better when I'm bulking, like just happier, just more satiated, just more energetic in general. So you're likely gonna have a better mood. The second last benefit is gonna be kind of an interesting one. I've just noticed myself, and I'm sure a lot of people notice too, but when you're bulking, your body fat percentage is higher, so likely you're gonna have more warmth, more insulation just from the fat. Additional calories in your system might make a difference too. I don't know about that, but just because you have more body fat, you're gonna have more insulation, right? So more warmth. This is actually a great benefit when you're living in a cold environment or it's wintertime. Like in Flagstaff, it's great. So this is another good benefit to bulking if it's wintertime. That's why usually people will try to bulk up during the winter and then cut down during the summer when their shirt comes off. But essentially, that's another benefit. All right, the last benefit I'm gonna talk about is just kind of combine all this stuff together. You look a lot bigger in clothing. You're bigger and stronger. You're eating all this food. You're recovering better. You feel like a beast. You feel great. You feel happy. And ultimately, you just feel all this is coming together. And you walk around, you just feel like a powerhouse. You're like living the bulk life. Eating all this food, training hard, getting bigger and stronger, and just loving it. Just a great benefit. You just feel great. You're like living the bulk life. Eating all this food, training hard, getting bigger and stronger, and just loving it. Just a great benefit. You just feel great, just feel powerful. That's another benefit to bulking. Just kind of combine all this stuff together.